Hello, friends. How long could you survive without food or water? A day? Maybe a week? What if some creatures on this planet can go without it for months, even years? From the burning deserts to the frozen edges of the earth, nature has built survivors that break every rule we thought we knew about life. Animals that slow their heartbeat to almost nothing, store water inside their bodies like living canteens, or bury themselves in silence, waiting for the world to wake up again. While they don't eat, don't drink, and yet they live on. You think you know what true endurance looks like? Wait until you meet these champions of survival. The animal kingdom is full of survivors with abilities that challenge everything we know about life itself. Some creatures can go days without food or water, others last for weeks, and a few can endure months or even years without a single sip or bite. They slow their hearts, lower their energy use, store water inside their bodies, and wait patiently while time passes by. These animals have evolved tricks that make them champions of endurance, living proof that survival isn't about strength alone, but about adapting in ways we can barely imagine. In this video, we'll meet the creatures that turn hunger and thirst into nothing more than a test they were born to win. When we think of survival, we picture strength, speed, or sharp claws. But the real masters of endurance win by doing the opposite. These animals slow down, shut off, or store what little they have to outlast nature's harshest challenges. From deserts with no rain for months to frozen wastelands where food vanishes, they've evolved secrets that let them go without eating or drinking for unimaginable lengths of time. In this story, we'll meet creatures that bend the rules of biology itself. Camels that can turn fat into water, snails that sleep for years, crocodiles, and snakes that can feast once and vanish into stillness for months. Bears that live half a year on nothing but stored energy, and even tiny beings that can survive droughts like living time capsules. Each one tells a part of the same story. That survival isn't just about what you have, but how you use it when the world gives you nothing. What would you do if your only way to survive was to turn yourself into something too big and too scary to swallow? For the pufferfish, this bizarre but brilliant strategy is its ticket to life in oceans full of predators. Normally, a pufferfish is a small, harmless-looking creature drifting close to coral reefs. But the moment danger approaches, it transforms. Its body has evolved an extraordinary defense mechanism. It gulps massive amounts of water or air, expanding to several times its normal size in just seconds. Suddenly, what looked like an easy meal becomes a spiky, unmanageable balloon. Many predators, startled or unable to bite down, give up immediately, and the pufferfish swims away alive. Some species take this defense further with sharp spines that pop out as the fish inflates, turning their soft, harmless-looking bodies into floating armored balls that can injure a predator's mouth. But size isn't their only trick. Pufferfish also carry one of the most potent natural toxins on Earth, tetrodotoxin, in their skin and organs. Even if a predator manages to grab them, it risks a deadly dose of poison that can paralyze or kill within minutes. This makes most attackers learn fast to never try a pufferfish twice. What makes this strategy so remarkable is how well-timed and controlled it is. Pufferfish don't stay inflated long. It's exhausting and risky for their bodies. But they do it with perfect timing, waiting until the last possible second when a predator lunges. Researchers observing wild pufferfish have seen them outsmarting larger hunters, hiding briefly, and then in spaces where they wedge themselves like a living barricade impossible to pull out. This combination of deception, size manipulation, and chemical warfare makes the pufferfish one of the most cunning survivors in the ocean. It doesn't fight back with teeth or speed, but with shock, surprise, and a body that says, "Try me and regret it forever." In a world where being small usually means being prey, the pufferfish has flipped the rules of survival, proving that sometimes the smartest escape is to become a nightmare. No predator wants to bite twice. Have you ever thought a tiny, fragile frog could outsmart predators not by running or fighting, but by playing one of the most convincing tricks in nature? Many frog species have mastered deception as their #1 survival tool, using false signals, fake movements, and incredible disguises to turn hunters into the hunted or simply confuse them long enough to escape. One of the most remarkable examples is the red-eyed tree frog and other tropical species that perform a perfect act of distraction when danger closes in. Instead of fleeing immediately, which would expose them, these frogs stay perfectly still, blending with leaves using their green coloration, becoming invisible in plain sight. But when a snake, bird, or larger lizard gets too close, the frog suddenly opens its eyes wide, flashing bright red or yellow colors on its limbs, startling the predator for a crucial second. That single moment of confusion is all it needs to leap to safety. Other frogs use an even more cunning approach. Some play dead, flipping onto their backs, remaining motionless, letting predators believe they are already rotting or toxic. Many amphibians release unpleasant-smelling secretions when threatened, selling the act with perfect realism. Predators that rely on movement and smell lose interest, thinking the prey is unfit to eat. Some frogs combine trickery with mimicry, flattening their bodies or inflating themselves to look larger and more dangerous, while others imitate leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, making hunters look right past them without realizing their meal is inches away. There are species like the false-eyed frog that have large spots on their hind legs, resembling the eyes of a much bigger animal. When they feel threatened, they lift their legs, showing these fake eyes to terrify or confuse attackers, making them think they're facing a dangerous predator instead of a small amphibian. Scientists have observed frogs using these tactics repeatedly, switching between staying invisible, pretending to be dead, or performing sudden, shocking displays depending on which enemy approaches. It's not brute force or fast legs that keep these fragile creatures alive in forests full of hunters. It's pure strategy, a performance honed by evolution to trick even the smartest predator. In a world where a split-second decision decides who eats and who escapes, frogs prove that cleverness, illusion, and a perfectly timed lie can be more powerful than claws or teeth. Their tricks may look simple to us, but they are a masterpiece of survival theater, played out night after night on the rainforest stage, where every jump could be the last if not for the power of deception. The emperor penguin might look like a symbol of endurance simply for surviving the brutal Antarctic winter, but its real feat goes far beyond icy winds and frozen oceans. These birds can endure up to 4 long months without a single bite of food or drop of water, standing in temperatures that can plunge below 60 degrees Celsius, carrying the future of their species on their feet. When the female lays her single egg, She leaves for the distant ocean to feed, and the male takes on the ultimate test of survival. He balances the fragile egg on his feet, tucking it under a warm flap of skin. And then he waits. For over 120 days, he doesn't eat, doesn't drink, barely moves, surviving entirely on the fat stored in his body before the long vigil begins. The Antarctic storms whip around him at hurricane force. The cold cuts like knives, and still he stands, huddling with thousands of other males in tightly packed circles, taking turns in the center to share the little warmth their bodies produce. Scientists have measured that emperor penguins lose almost half their body weight during this fast, yet their bodies are miracles of conservation. Slowing metabolism, recycling water from fat breakdown, and using every last calorie for survival and for keeping their chick alive. They don't hunt, they don't search for water, they simply endure, day after endless day, in one of the most hostile places on the planet. When the females finally return, fat from weeks of feeding at sea, the males have gone without food for up to 4 months, often over 100 days in the worst conditions, and many have not taken a sip of water during that entire time. Some collapse as soon as their duty is over, completely drained, while others immediately march toward the ocean to refill their empty reserves. This staggering display of endurance isn't just about individual survival. It's about absolute devotion to the next generation, a sacrifice unmatched in the animal kingdom. Every year, emperor penguins prove that true strength isn't only in power or speed. Sometimes it's the ability to stand still, resist hunger, thirst, and unimaginable cold, and not give up until the job is done. These birds live on the very edge of what life can endure, surviving where almost nothing else can, turning every breath, every heartbeat, into an act of willpower against nature's most brutal test. Have you ever wished you could vanish before danger even noticed you? The chameleon has turned this wish into a reality, evolving one of nature's most sophisticated camouflage systems that makes it nearly untouchable in the wild. This reptile doesn't rely on speed or strength to escape predators. Instead, it bends light, changes colors, and manipulates its own appearance to become part of its surroundings, turning invisibility into a survival weapon. The secret lies in its remarkable skin, layered with special cells called chromatophores and nanocrystals that reflect and absorb light in different ways. With a simple adjustment of muscle tension, a chameleon can shift from green to brown, yellow, orange, or even display multiple colors at once. This isn't just a passive reaction to temperature or mood. It's an active, deliberate choice to match the environment, confuse predators, and even communicate with other chameleons. When a bird of prey circles above, or a snake slithers nearby, the chameleon freezes completely, skin blending into leaves, branches, or bark so perfectly that it disappears from sight. Some species take this trick further, subtly changing shades throughout the day as the light shifts, staying invisible no matter how the forest transforms around them. Scientists have studied wild chameleons and found that their camouflage is incredibly precise, adjusting not only color but patterns, creating fake shadows or highlights to mimic sunspots on leaves. This isn't their only clever trick. Chameleons use stillness as a weapon, moving so slowly that predators struggle to detect motion. Their bodies can rock gently, mimicking the sway of branches in the wind, making them indistinguishable from the foliage. Their independently moving eyes give them a full 360-degree view without moving their heads, allowing them to scan for threats while remaining perfectly still. When cornered, some chameleons switch tactics, flashing bright, bold colors to startle predators or signal that they might be poisonous or dangerous, buying enough time to escape. The brilliance of the chameleon's survival strategy is that it doesn't fight danger directly. It avoids it altogether, making predators waste energy searching for a meal that's right in front of them. This incredible adaptation has kept chameleons alive for millions of years in forests, deserts, and grasslands full of hungry hunters. Watching a chameleon vanish into its background feels like magic, but it's nature's ultimate mind game. A living creature turning light and color into a shield, proving that in the wild, survival often belongs to those who can fool the eye, not just outrun the claw. Ityo, have you ever wondered what it takes to cross entire oceans, flying for months without stopping to eat or drink, and still return home alive? The albatross, one of the most legendary birds on the planet, has perfected this extreme test of endurance, surviving journeys that would kill almost any other creature. These seabirds spend the vast majority of their lives above the open ocean, gliding for thousands of miles without setting foot on land, sometimes not touching the ground for over a year. Young albatrosses, after leaving their nesting islands, may fly for months before their first real feeding opportunity, relying on stored fat and pure survival instinct to keep going. Their bodies are masterpieces of efficiency. Massive wingspans, sometimes over 3.5 meters, let them glide for hours, even days, without flapping, using air currents and ocean winds to conserve energy. They can travel over 10,000 miles on a single journey, while barely burning reserves, waiting patiently for food that might not appear for days at a time. When they do feed, they gorge on fish, squid, and krill, storing energy for the next endless flight over desolate seas where prey is scarce. Albatrosses also draw water from their diet, processing salt from seawater through specialized glands in their beaks, allowing them to survive long stretches without drinking fresh water. They have evolved stomach oil, a super-concentrated energy source that fuels both adults and chicks during long fasting periods. These adaptations make them unrivaled long-distance travelers and survivalists of the sky. Scientists tracking albatrosses have recorded journeys lasting several months with only a handful of successful hunts, yet the birds returned strong and healthy, ready to breed and repeat the process year after year. In a world where other animals would collapse from starvation or dehydration, the albatross thrives, turning vast empty oceans into highways of survival. Their endurance is not brute strength, it's patience, precision, and a body honed to live on almost nothing, defying distance, weather, and hunger. Watching an albatross soar endlessly over storm-tossed waves is witnessing a living miracle of adaptation, a creature that turns scarcity into freedom, a master of endurance unmatched in the skies or on land. Have you ever thought that the best way to survive isn't to fight, flee, or hide, but to become so invisible that predators never realize you're alive at all? That's the secret of the mata-mata turtle, a creature that looks less like an animal and more like a piece of the swamp itself. Found in the slow-moving rivers and marshes of South America, this turtle has turned camouflage into a full-body masterpiece, making it one of the most deceptive reptiles in the world. At first glance, a mata-mata turtle doesn't resemble a turtle at all. Its flat, triangular head is covered in flaps of rough, knobby skin. Its long neck looks like a twisted branch, and its brown, jagged shell is shaped like a rotting leaf floating on water. Algae often grows on its back, blending it even further into the murky environment. To any predator swimming by, it's just another piece of debris, not worth a second glance. But this disguise isn't just for hiding, it's also a deadly hunting strategy. Mata-matas are ambush predators that use patience as their greatest weapon. They stay perfectly still for hours, waiting for unsuspecting fish or amphibians to come close, believing the leaf nearby is harmless. In a split second, the turtle stretches its long neck, opens its wide, vacuum-like mouth, and sucks in its prey with incredible force, swallowing it whole before the victim realizes what happened. Scientists have studied mata-matas and discovered that their entire body design is specialized for this trickery. Their flat heads reduce water disturbance when they strike, and their camouflage is so effective that even experienced divers have mistaken them for dead vegetation. Predators often swim past without noticing them, and prey have no chance of escape until it's too late. This dual use of deception, fooling both enemies and victims, makes the mata-mata turtle a true master of survival without speed, strength, or armor. In nature, where countless creatures rely on brute force or quick reflexes, this turtle has chosen a different path. It becomes part of the environment itself, untouchable and overlooked, turning invisibility into its ultimate defense. Watching a mata-mata turtle in its natural habitat is like looking at a swamp floor come to life, a living ghost of the water, proving that in the wild, sometimes the smartest way to survive is to make the world forget you're even there. You probably think of snails as fragile, slow creatures that wouldn't last a day without water or food, but the truth is shocking. Some species can survive years, even decades, without eating or drinking a drop, all thanks to one of nature's most extreme survival mechanisms. Certain giant African land snails can endure droughts and harsh environments by entering a state called estivation, a kind of biological pause button where their entire metabolism almost shuts down. When conditions turn deadly, no rain, no plants to eat, blistering sun, these snails retreat into their shells, sealing themselves off with a layer of hardened mucus, like building a protective door. Inside, their heartbeat slows, their breathing nearly stops, and they survive on the tiniest traces of energy stored in their bodies, losing almost no water for months or even years. In some recorded cases, snails have been packed away, forgotten in shipping containers or storage for over 5 years, only to wake up alive when moisture returned, crawling out as if nothing had happened. This isn't luck, it's evolution's ultimate endurance trick. A snail can regulate its internal chemistry to avoid damage from dehydration, recycling fluids inside its tiny body, and keeping its organs alive on what would be nothing for other creatures. Even their shells tell a story of survival, layers hardened to trap every bit of humidity, turning their own home into a life capsule against death. Scientists believe this ability evolved to survive long African dry seasons, where rain might not fall for years. And when the first drops finally return, the snail simply breaks its seal, stretches out, and resumes life as if time never passed. Imagine not eating or drinking for a decade and waking up ready to go. For these snails, it's reality. This extreme adaptation shows that survival isn't just about finding food or water. It's about mastering the art of waiting, of making a single meal last forever, of keeping life on hold until the world is ready to welcome it back. These tiny creatures prove that endurance doesn't always roar. Sometimes it moves slowly, hides away, and outlasts even time itself. Have you ever seen an animal so dedicated to staying alive that it literally builds its own disguise from the world around it? The decorator crab is one of nature's most brilliant survival artists, turning itself into a living piece of the ocean floor to escape predators that would otherwise make a quick meal of it. This small crab doesn't rely on speed or strength. Instead, it uses ingenuity and resourcefulness that rivals human creativity. With its hooked hairs covering its shell, the decorator crab collects pieces of seaweed, sponges, shells, coral fragments, and even toxic organisms, attaching them carefully to its body like a custom-made camouflage suit. It doesn't just grab anything nearby. It chooses its decorations based on what will best protect it in that specific environment. If the seabed is covered with algae, the crab becomes a patch of green fuzz. If it lives among corals, it builds a crown of colorful fragments to blend in perfectly. In waters where predators rely on smell as much as sight, the decorator crab adds pieces of noxious sponges or stinging anemones, creating a living shield that not only hides it visually, but makes it dangerous to touch. Scientists observing these crabs have seen them constantly adjusting and repairing their camouflage, replacing old materials with fresh ones, making their disguise even better over time. Some individuals have been recorded taking hours to prepare after molting, knowing that until their shell is decorated, they are exposed and vulnerable. This isn't blind instinct, it's behavior that shows planning and problem-solving, a conscious effort to change appearance based on threat levels. Predators like octopuses, fish, and larger crabs often pass right by without noticing anything unusual, missing the crab entirely because it has become part of the scenery. And if danger gets too close, the decorator crab can freeze, relying entirely on its disguise, confident that its carefully built costume makes it invisible. In the vast and competitive world of the ocean, where almost everything eats something smaller, the decorator crab survives not with armor or speed, but with craftiness, turning the materials of its home into a personal fortress. It's proof that sometimes the smartest way to survive isn't to fight or flee. It's to disappear so completely that danger never even knows you were there. Mom, what if the deadliest hunter in your backyard could sit in silence for half a year, waiting for one single meal to appear? Spiders, especially tarantulas and other ambush hunters, are masters of endurance, able to survive months without food or water, relying only on the perfection of their patience and biology. These eight-legged predators are built for scarcity. When prey vanishes or the seasons turn harsh, their metabolism slows to an almost frozen state, every heartbeat and breath stretched as far as nature allows. Some species have been observed going 6 months or more without a meal, sitting perfectly still in their webs or hiding in burrows, conserving energy in a way that seems impossible for a living creature. Scientists studying tarantulas in captivity have recorded cases where they were fed just a few times a year, yet they remained healthy, active, and ready to strike whenever food returned. The secret lies in their cold-blooded efficiency. They don't burn energy to stay warm like mammals do, and their bodies are designed to extract every drop of nutrition from each hunt. A single insect or small rodent can fuel a spider for weeks or months, its internal systems working slowly but relentlessly to make sure nothing is wasted. Even water isn't always necessary. Many spiders get hydration from their prey, allowing them to survive long, dry periods in deserts or sealed-off burrows underground. Their survival strategy isn't frantic searching, it's absolute stillness. They wait, traps set, sensing the tiniest vibration in the air or on a strand of silk, ready to strike when opportunity finally crawls by. This ability to endure famine makes spiders some of the most resilient predators on the planet. Imagine sitting in the dark for half a year, moving only when the promise of life walks past you, and yet staying strong, fast, deadly. That's the spider's way. A silent master of patience, proving that in nature, survival doesn't always belong to the biggest or loudest hunter, but to the one who can wait longer than the rest of the land. Picture this. You're a small, defenseless animal walking through the forest at night when suddenly a predator appears, stronger, faster, and ready to kill. You can't fight, you can't outrun it. So what's left? For the opossum, the answer is one of the wild's boldest, strangest, and most effective tricks, faking its own death so perfectly that even the most determined predator gives up. At first, the opossum doesn't go straight to its final act. It tries to look fierce, baring its teeth, hissing loudly, growling, puffing up its body to seem bigger than it is. Sometimes this bluff works. Predators hesitate, confused by the sudden aggression. But when intimidation fails and danger is seconds away, the opossum launches into one of nature's greatest survival performances. In a flash, its body collapses to the ground, as if life has drained out of it. Its mouth gapes open, tongue hanging out, eyes glazed over or rolled back. It emits a low, eerie groan that sounds like the last breath of a dying creature. And then comes its secret weapon, a pungent, sickly smell from its anal glands that mimics the stench of decay. To a predator, this combination screams dead and diseased, something no hunter wants to touch. Coyotes, foxes, bobcats, even domestic dogs have been seen sniffing the limp body of an opossum, grimacing and walking away, convinced they've stumbled upon carrion instead of live prey. The opossum doesn't break character no matter what happens. Scientists have documented cases where opossums stayed in this trance-like state for minutes or even hours, heart rate slowed, muscles completely limp, sometimes even bleeding from a real injury, but continuing the act until they sensed absolute safety. The trick is so convincing that even humans have been fooled, thinking they found a dead opossum, only for it to rise from the grave later and run off unharmed. This behavior, called thanatosis, is believed to be partly instinctive and partly a complex survival reflex triggered by extreme fear. It is incredibly risky. If a predator decides to eat the carcass anyway, the opossum has no defense left. But in most cases, this bluff is a lifesaver, sparing the animal from certain death. What makes this strategy brilliant is that it doesn't rely on claws, speed, venom, or strength. It rewrites the rules of the hunt. Predators expect a chase, a fight, a desperate escape. They don't expect their prey to simply die on the spot, emitting a disgusting odor that says, "I'm already rotten, leave me alone." This shock tactic confuses the natural order of predator and prey, turning the opossum from a target into unwanted trash in seconds. And when the danger finally passes, the little actor wakes from its death pose, shakes itself off, and scurries back to safety, having fooled death itself. Watching this performance in the wild is both eerie and brilliant, a reminder that survival isn't just about being stronger or faster. Sometimes it belongs to the clever, the deceptive, the ones who know how to trick their enemies so well that even nature's fiercest hunters walk away empty-mouthed. You may think of scorpions as small desert hunters, striking fast and fierce, but their most impressive power is their ability to almost stop time inside their own bodies, surviving up to a full year without a single meal. These ancient arachnids have been perfecting endurance for over 400 million years, making them one of nature's toughest survivors. When food is scarce, scorpions activate their ultimate survival mode. Their metabolism slows to a crawl, their heart rate drops to nearly nothing, and their oxygen consumption is reduced to just a fraction of normal levels. They can sit perfectly still, barely moving for weeks or months, conserving every drop of energy, waiting for the moment prey comes close enough for a strike. This isn't starvation, it's mastery over their own biology. Scorpions are cold-blooded, which means they don't waste energy on staying warm, but their adaptation goes far beyond that. They can enter a semi-dormant state, stretching the nutrients from a single meal for months, something no mammal could ever hope to do. Even their body fluids are used with precision, avoiding dehydration in the hottest deserts, allowing them to live where water may not fall for a year or more. Their survival isn't limited to skipping meals. Scorpions can survive in oxygen levels so low most creatures would suffocate, and they can even endure freezing nights and blazing hot days without losing balance in their systems. Scientists have tested their resilience by sealing them off from food for months. When released, they walked out alive, ready to hunt again as if nothing happened. This ability to endure long periods of scarcity makes them one of the planet's most adaptable predators. Imagine being able to sit in complete stillness for months, heart beating just enough to keep you alive, muscles ready to explode the moment prey comes near. Scorpions don't panic when the world runs dry. They wait, perfectly patient, their bodies like locked-down machines set for survival. This astonishing endurance has allowed scorpions to thrive through mass extinctions, environmental disasters, and endless droughts, making them a living symbol of nature's ability to outlast almost anything. In a world where food can vanish and water is a dream, the scorpion doesn't fight or fear. It simply pauses, a silent desert shadow built to survive time itself. What if you could transform your entire body in the blink of an eye, becoming invisible to enemies, or even turning into something far more terrifying than yourself? For the octopus, this isn't science fiction. It's an everyday survival strategy, perfected over millions of years. Living in oceans full of predators like sharks, moray eels, and barracudas, the octopus relies on intelligence and trickery to stay alive. Its skin is packed with millions of specialized cells called chromatophores and papillae that can instantly change color, pattern, and even texture, allowing it to disappear against rocks, sand, or coral reefs. One moment it's a moving shadow on the ocean floor, the next it's a lump of algae swaying with the current, completely fooling predators. Some octopus species take deception even further, mimicking deadly sea creatures to scare off attackers, spreading arms to imitate venomous lionfish, flattening its body to look like a poisonous flatfish, or slithering in patterns that make it appear as a sea snake, one of the most feared creatures of the ocean. But camouflage is just the first layer of its genius. When discovered, the octopus releases a dark cloud of ink, not just to hide visually, but to overload the predator's sense of smell and taste, creating confusion and buying precious seconds to flee. Their flexible, boneless bodies can squeeze through cracks no bigger than their beak, escaping places where no other animal could follow. They're not just escape artists, they're problem solvers. Scientists have documented octopuses opening jars, unlocking containers, navigating complex mazes, and even playing with objects, showing a level of thinking and memory on par with higher mammals. Some have been seen stacking rocks to block predators from entering their dens, or collecting coconut shells to assemble instant portable shelters. These creatures plan, adapt, and outwit attackers in ways that seem almost human. An octopus doesn't just run from danger, it studies its enemy, creates illusions, manipulates its environment, and vanishes in plain sight. Watching one change shape and color, outmaneuvering larger, faster hunters, feels like witnessing living magic. Except this magic is real, an evolutionary masterpiece of survival intelligence honed over countless generations. In the wild, where speed and brute strength often rule, the octopus proves that the sharpest weapon can be a quick mind and the ability to make predators doubt what they see, hesitate for a second too long, and lose their chance at a kill. You probably think of sloths as lazy, slow, and fragile. But what if I told you their secret to survival is a superpower we can only dream of? The ability to live on almost nothing for weeks, sometimes months, without weakening or starving. Sloths are among the most energy-efficient animals on Earth, built not for speed or power, but for mastering life in slow motion. Living high in tropical rainforests, they've adapted to survive on a diet so poor in calories that most animals would starve in days. Sloths eat mainly leaves, tough, fibrous, nutrient-poor leaves, yet they've turned this meager diet into a strategy that allows them to survive with minimal food and water for long periods of time. Their secret lies in their ultra-slow metabolism. A sloth's heart rate and body temperature are among the lowest for any mammal of its size, and they burn energy at an astonishingly slow pace. Digestion can take up to a month for a single meal to fully pass through their system, meaning every leaf eaten is stretched to its maximum potential, extracting every last bit of nutrition and moisture. Because their food provides so little water, sloths have evolved to conserve it like no other. They barely sweat, lose almost no fluids through waste, and can rely solely on water extracted from leaves and occasional rainfall. In extreme conditions, sloths can go weeks without direct access to fresh water. Moving little, sleeping for up to 20 hours a day, and letting their bodies slip into a state of near stasis where hunger and thirst almost disappear. Scientists have observed sloths surviving long dry spells by slowing their metabolism even further to levels that would put most mammals into a fatal coma. Yet sloths stay alive, strong enough to climb, feed slowly, and evade predators with their stillness and camouflage. Their endurance isn't about storing fat or finding large meals. It's about living so efficiently that they need almost nothing to keep going. In the jungle's harshest moments, when storms strip trees bare or droughts kill young leaves, other herbivores panic and starve, but sloths simply wait. They move slower than time itself, using patience as their shield, conserving energy, making a handful of leaves last for what feels like forever. They have perfected a survival strategy that trades speed for endurance, proving that sometimes winning the battle for life isn't about racing ahead. It's about knowing how to stay alive when the world gives you almost nothing at all. They say survival is about strength or speed, but these animals prove it's about something far more powerful: the ability to outlast the impossible. We've seen camels crossing burning deserts without a drop of water for weeks, crocodiles turning one meal into life for months, and snails sealing themselves away to sleep through years of drought. Sharks and snakes can feast once and disappear for entire seasons, while scorpions wait in stillness for a year on nothing but patience. Emperor penguins stand in brutal storms for 4 months without food. Frogs entomb themselves underground to wait out a dead earth, and spiders hide in silence for half a year, surviving on a single lucky hunt. Bears turn their own fat into fuel for 7 long months of hibernation. Tortoises carry their water inside. Sloths live in slow motion on almost nothing, and albatrosses cross oceans, surviving on hope and endurance. Each one reveals a truth about life we often forget. Survival isn't just about fighting or winning. It's about knowing how to last when the world gives you nothing at all, turning time, patience, and adaptation into the greatest superpowers nature ever created. We like to believe survival is a matter of willpower, but these animals prove it's something far greater. A delicate balance between biology, adaptation, and time itself. Their ability to endure weeks, months, even years without food or water reshapes what we think life needs to keep going. It shows that intelligence isn't only about thought, and strength isn't only about force. True power can be quiet, hidden in the ability to wait, to stretch a single drop of water, a single meal, into life itself. These creatures are living proof that nature doesn't follow human rules. It writes its own, turning emptiness into opportunity and scarcity into survival. They remind us that life can persist in places where everything says it shouldn't. That sometimes the greatest victory is simply staying alive when the world tries to erase you. In the end, these endurance champions challenge us to see survival not as a fight, but as an art. One perfected long before we ever learned to call ourselves resilient. We've just witnessed some of nature's toughest survivors, animals that can defy hunger, thirst, and time itself, proving that life finds a way even in the harshest, most impossible conditions. From deserts with no rain to frozen wastelands, from the depths of the oceans to the endless skies, these creatures have turned endurance into their ultimate weapon, rewriting everything we thought we knew about survival. If this video opened your eyes to just how incredible the natural world can be, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that reveal nature's hidden power, and share this with someone who needs to see what true resilience looks like. Now it's your turn. Which of these animals impressed you the most? Which one would you never want to trade places with? And do you know of another champion of survival we should include next time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the world is full of untold stories of life pushing past the limits, and together we'll uncover them all.